Hello, welcome to Gurukul's Cat 100 series, a series that's designed specifically to take you from your study room to the corporate boardroom. I am Prady Sharma and this is Verbal Mastery with Prady. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Now, if you want to take these 5 VA questions as a test, then all you've got to do is go on to www.thegurukul.org.in and sign up for the 100 Days to Cat test series. Now, this is a completely free test series that gives you 100 tests of quant, LRDI and verbal ability with complete detailed video solutions. In case you want to continue along with this video, then this is your first question. Please pause the video here, answer this question, and then we'll move on to the second question. This is your second question. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we'll move on to the third question. This is your third question. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we'll move on to the fourth question. This is your fourth question. Pause the video, answer this question, and then we'll move on to the fifth question. This is your fifth and the last question for the day. Pause the video here, answer this question, and then we'll go into the explanations of all these questions. This is the first question. This question is a para summary type of question. So the passage says, most of us would say that we have free will. We can do anything we wish. If we want to wear a red shirt instead of a blue one, we can. If we want to eat a sandwich instead of a pizza, we can. If we want to marry the girl or boy we love, we can. If we have enough money, we can buy any house or car or gadget. Likewise, we can travel wherever we want to. Obviously, it looks as if free will exists. Okay, so from the start till here, there's one idea that, okay, we have free will. This is the idea that's being, told to us, and there are examples that exemplify that idea. All the choices that we make are from the act of exercising the will. How free is free will? Now here, the second part starts, where he is challenging the assumption that we've had initially, challenging the idea that we've had initially, and he's asking us, how free is this free will? Whatever we call free will or choices is finally determined by a mix of two things, nature and nurture, or by our heritage and conditioning. So again, what's he saying? This whole thing of free will, okay, is nothing but a combination of nature and nurture. And what's this nature and nurture? Our heritage and conditioning. We can't choose our parents, and hence we have no choice over the genetic material they give to us. Also, from birth we are exposed to conditioning and belief systems. In the process of growing up, we are conditioned and led to believe a great many things by family, friends, strangers, the media, commercials, books, and what have you. As an adult, we are thus a mixture of our genetics and all these things, conditionings. Okay, so there are two more ideas that we get. Okay, first thing is the contention that how free is this free will, and how much are we able to actually enact upon that free will. And then he says that yes, all this free will is basically a mixture of two conditions, your genetics and your social conditioning. Now let's try to see which options among these four can actually bring these three ideas into the same tone and present it to us. Free will does not exist. What we believe to be free will is finally a product of the conditioning we have received from our family, society, the media and the books. First things first, free will does not exist. This in itself is a wrong statement to mentioning. So obviously this cannot be our answer. B, based on our freedom to choose what we believe that free will exists. However, finally we have no free will as our choices are a result of social conditioning. Okay, so here he says that yes, based on our freedom to choose, we believe that free will exists. Okay, so this part is fine. However, finally, we have no free will as our choices are a result of social conditioning. Now, it's not only social conditioning, we need to add in genetics too, and then it will be a good answer. But since that is not there, we can remove this. It's not very accurate an answer. Now, see, most of us believe that free will exists since we make choice in our daily life. Great, okay. However, in the final analysis, we are products of our social and environmental conditioning. Again, this is also only talking about conditioning. This is not really talking about genetics at all. So again, I'm going to remove this as well. D, as adults, what we call free will, which gives us the freedom to make various choices in our daily life, is finally determined by our genetics and social conditioning. So he's saying, yes, what we think is free will, what we call is free will, is the choices that we are able to make about different things. However, this has already been determined by our genetics and social conditioning, both of those things. So this is the most accurate and appropriate summary for our paragraph. Now let's go into the second question. The second question says, Burton and Russell famously distinguish between knowledge by description and a quite particular kind of knowledge by acquaintance. So again, this guy Russell, he's telling us that there are two types of knowledge. One is knowledge by description and the second one is knowledge by acquaintance. He allowed there to be a form of acquaintance that was immediate and unquestionable, linking one with such things as abstract properties as and monetary sensory items passing before one's mind. You can be acquainted with these abstract properties of redness as well as with a specific patch of redness briefly in your visual field. So basically, acquaintance is something that you already know, you have met before. So it is direct and it's unquestionable. It's immediate and unquestionable. It's definitely there. Okay. Then he comes and talks to us about knowledge by description was the means by which, in which Russell's view, a person could proceed to know about what he or she had not experienced directly. So one thing, I have two types of knowledge according to Russell. Okay, one is by acquaintance, one is by description. Now acquaintance, it is immediate, okay, and it is direct. This is indirect. This part is unquestionable. That is what we are able to see so far. Yes. Now knowledge by description was a means by which a person could proceed to know about what he or she had not experienced directly. Fine. We formulate definitive descriptions, that's third man listed in the current Sydney residential phone book. So he's just giving an example in the parenthesis, and indefinite ones. Fine. So he's now again telling me that these indirect descriptions could be both definite and indefinite. Correct. With these, we can designate individuals with whom we have not interacted. So all these descriptive knowledge is basically for people who we have not met yet. Then we can formulate claims using such descriptions. Some of these claims could be knowledge. Fine, fair enough. So what are we to look for in the options? We need to look for options which tell us about two types of knowledge, one that is acquaintance based and the second one which is description based. According to Burton and Russell, there are two kinds of knowledge, knowledge by description or knowing a person whom we have met, and knowledge by acquaintance or knowing something or someone by sensory experience. Now this sounds perfect, but the problem over here is that knowledge by description is what he has actually told in the passage as knowledge by acquaintance, and the vice versa. So the thing has been reversed. Knowledge by description ka description has given in knowledge for acquaintance, and knowledge for acquaintance ka description has been given in knowledge for description. So it's a reverse option. We can take it off. Burton and Russell distinguishes between knowledge gained through acquaintance without knowing a person and knowledge gained through description or indefinite ones with whom we have not interacted. Again, knowledge gained through acquaintance without knowing a person has not been told to us. Second thing, this part where he's talking about knowledge gained through description or indefinite ones is only partial. So since this is a partial scope choice, I can remove this. C. Knowledge by description is when you know things as abstract properties like redness, and knowledge by acquaintance is when you know something or someone as definite or indefinite. Again, this is a reverse option that's been given, so we can take this off. Last one, according to Burton and Russell, there are two kinds of knowledge, great knowledge by description or knowing a person whom we have not met, fair enough, and knowledge by acquaintance or knowledge or knowing something by sensory experience. So this is perfectly what has been told to us in the passage, and that is why D should be our correct answer. Now let's go into the third question. Third question says there's a common misunderstanding about the reservation policy even among the educated. Okay, that means even the educated people, okay, might have been misunderstanding the reservation policy. What is that? In as much as they think the provision for reservation for the SEs and STs was originally only for 10 years after the commencement of the Constitution, this is not so. That means the actual reservation for SEs and STs was not only the first 10 years after the Constitution came into picture. The 10-year provision was only in respect of the political reservations, and that is why it needs to be extended after every 10 years. So that 10 years ka rule only applied to political reservations, not the other sorts of reservations. Reservations in education and employment have proved or has proved to be much more effective in improving the living conditions of these groups, particularly of the SCs and STs in comparison to political reservations. Fine. So now we get the second idea that reservation in education has done more benefit to these groups than the political reservations. Though faulty in its implementation, reservations in educated created necessary education skills and capabilities that enabled these groups to benefit from the job opportunities. So fair enough. Now what's he saying? Yes, maybe the implementation was not very great, but still whatever reservations were created, that gave enough skills to these groups. Now let's look at these four. Contrary to common understanding, the 10-year expiry applies only to political reservations. Fair enough. In education and employment, reservation has helped improve the skills of the reserved groups and enabled them to benefit from job opportunities. Great. So this is valid. This has almost all the points, so I can keep it as one of my good answers. Let me look at the other three. If I get any better answer, then I'll go for that. The 10-year provision applies only to political reservations. Fair enough. In other areas, it has improved the living conditions, imparted skills and capabilities, and enhanced job opportunities of the reserve group, particularly of the SCs and STs. Now, when he says that in other areas it has done this, Okay, it is understandable, but he's not been very, very clear about it. So the clarity part is a little missing in B, so I'm going to remove B. C, contrary to what even the educated think. Now, compared to A and C, if I'm comparing A and C, here comparing to the contrary to the common understanding has been mentioned, whereas contrary to even the educated thing has been mentioned, and this is a bit more specific to what has been mentioned in the passage. So I would say that C is a better option than A if it has everything else exactly the same as A. The Constitution had a 10-year limit only to political reservations, necessitating extensions, fair enough. Reservation in education and employment sector has been more effective in improving the skills and capabilities of and the living conditions of the reserved group. So this now becomes a better answer than A, since it's more specific. So I can remove A and I can put C as my best answer so far. D, even the educated misunderstand that the provision for reservations for the SCs and the STs was originally only for 10 years. However, reservation in education and employment is forever and has helped. Now again, over here, when he said that the provision for reservation for SCs and STs, he's not talked about which reservation. Second thing, nowhere has he mentioned that the thing in education is forever. So that kind of an assumption is what makes us go into the wrong answers very quickly. So this is too broad and introduces a lot of details that have not been mentioned in the passage, so we can take this off. The best answer for us for this question would be answer C. Now let's go to the fourth question. 5 sentences are numbered 1 to 5 and we have to identify the odd one out and key in its number. Okay, fair enough. Now there are 2 ways to do this. Obviously, first one, like a ParaJumble, you construct a logical coherent paragraph and then you see which one does not fit, or you go by theme differentiation. Now let's read through 1 to 5 and then try to understand how to do this. Silicon Valley prophets talk about colonizing new planets, conveniently sidestepping the challenge of saving our own. Fair enough. So they're trying to colonize new planets, but they're not saving our own planet. After all, the most recent wave of invention has been driven by machine learning or deep learning, a computer science version of an adaptive process. So this is talking to me about new tech. This is talking to me about saving planet. Okay, let's see what about third one. Nature and technology seem to pull us in different directions. So this is again nature versus tech. All right. Fourth one, Amazon and Twitter take their names from natural world even as they invent products that seem bent on supplanting it. So supplanting over here means superseding. Okay, so obviously here he is talking about how, although their names are taken from things that are available in the world, that they're trying to overcome or do better than the natural entity. At Google and Facebook, the world's best engineers are engaged in souping up our own species via artificial intelligence rather than protecting millions of others. Now what is this souping up? Souping up means bringing up the level of something, right? Which means to say that they're trying to bring our species level up rather than protect million of other species. Now over here, if I'm looking at 5, 4, 3 and 1, all of these talk about how nature and technology are at odds, okay, and how we are not saving our own planet. Instead, we are using our capabilities, we are using our powers to, juice up things which may not really be for the benefit of this planet. Okay, so it's okay for us. It's kind of, seeming like, yes, we are destroying our planet because we are able to find another planet that we could colonize, we could move on to, but we're not trying to save our own planet. Correct. So in this order, if I'm looking at 3 seems to be the most logical starting. Then I could say that 4, 5 and 1 form a perfect end, because here in 5 I look at protection, here I look at protection, and here 4 and 5 I talk about the giant companies and what they're doing. Yes, so the odd man out clearly should be 2. So this would be my correct answer. Now let's go to the 5th question and the last question for the day. But before that, tell us in the comments how many questions you're getting correct. And if you know someone who does not have enough material to practice for CAT 2025, please share this with them. They'll appreciate you and we'll appreciate you too. So the 5th sentence, it's again the odd one out type of sentence. Over here it says, it is all at once a fever, an occupation, an affliction, a constitution. My first thought that I get is, what is this it? Okay, so anxiety is therefore a perspective, a hermeneutical relationship with the world whose text now gets read in a very peculiar way by this anxiety-laden vision. So again, he's talking about anxiety, and when he's saying it's a hermeneutical, relationship, hermeneutical means interpreting in a particular manner. Okay, so interpreting things in a particular manner is hermeneutical. So he's basically saying that anxiety is a perspective that gets read or that gets understood in a very, very anxiety laden vision, in a very manner that is filled with anxiety. Now 3, anxiety is insidious more than just simple fear. So guys, over here in 2 and in 3, if I'm looking at 2 and 3, I can see that the core theme is anxiety. Yes, anxieties are not immortal. Some die on their own, subdued by exposure to enough recalcitration facts about the world to make some terrors untenable. Great. So here he's saying that some anxieties die down by themselves. In 5th one, what's he saying? An anxiety is a lens through which to view the world, a coloration that grants the sufferers experiences their distinctive hue. So again, he's basically saying that yes, only a person with anxiety understands how he sees the world. Things he sees are completely different because he's looking at it from the perspective of anxiety. Now, if I'm looking at it, all of them are talking about anxiety only. In the first go, you might think that one is the odd man out because these 4 things are talking about anxiety. But over here, if I'm looking at one perfectly fits after 3. Okay, why? Because if I'm looking at it this way, this 4th statement is the only one that talks about anxiety being subdued. The rest are talking to me about how a person with anxiety looks at anxiety and looks at the world around him with anxiety, right? So my best answer based on theme differentiation should be 4. Now that we've come to the end of this video, please drop a like. Tell us what was your favorite part and how consistent you are with answering these 100 days to CAT tests. I'll see you in the next one.
Hope you enjoyed learning from today's session.
This series is designed to help you with your CAT preparation and practice daily. We are with you in this journey.
To watch the next video, click here. And to watch Gurukul's CAT 100 series, study room to boardroom, the entire playlist, click here.
If you learned from today's session, like, share, and subscribe.